I can connect it while we're going. You're
Ladies
in
and gentlemen,
your
it
first
is
one.
a Wednesday rendition. 11:11 is the time, and we got another hitter with us. That's all we bring on is the hitters, everybody. Making money in real estate. Everybody's got their own unique approach. And what I like about Frank is he takes an old approach. It's nothing really that fancy, but he just does it with bigger deals and bigger numbers. And this is the thing with real estate. I'm here to tell everybody you could apply the most simple practices, the same practices that you use for $100,000 deal, you can do for big deals. And that's what Frank is going to enlighten us on today. He's doing some big deals. And as always, we are affordable housing bulls. That's what we're up to, buying up affordable housing. Myself and RJ, we are the cream, cash flow, real estate, and money. And we're going to take about 15 to 20 minutes of your day today, and we're going to add as much value as we possibly can with Mr. Frank McGovern. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. And hopefully I can provide some value to you guys. And like Dan mentioned, I just, I just took some old concepts and stuff I had experienced with residential, started doing it with larger assets, and went from making $10,000 to $20,000 per house to 100 or hundreds of thousands of dollars per larger asset. One I have closing in 2-3 weeks from now is a deal I'm doing with a mentee of mine, but it's a $450,000 spread, and it
That's the bell, baby. Ring the bell.
and it was a text message lead.
Text message.
The sales process is pretty similar. It's just building trust and rapport with the seller, and it's not significantly different than residential. Evaluating the deals are like much different. Selling them can be a little bit different, and then just like the due diligence and the transaction coordination that's involved is different. But it's a lot of pretty similar principles to residential. It's just going after a significantly bigger and or more valuable asset.
And what are the assets that you're going after here? What is the asset class that you specialize in, Frank?
For the past few years, my main focus has been industrial real estate. So warehouses, self-storage, flex space, industrial outside storage. In the past year or so, I started also marketing for apartment buildings and retail as well.
So where are you? I guess what everybody wants to know is kind of how do you find your deals? How do you underwrite your deals? And how do you find your buyers? I mean, can you walk us through kind of your business?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of finding the sellers, it's same as residential, pretty, in terms of pulling data and just picking specific criteria. So I get my data from a source called Reonomy. That's
Oh, yeah.
REONOMY. I think that is the best source to pull, larger asset data. I can go in there, select, my asset class, pick a size, range, and a length of ownership. So I'm pulling that data, getting it skip traced, deploying the marketing through different marketing channels. I mainly use, texting, as well as, cold calling, doing some direct mail, but just, the same marketing channels that I had success with in residential. So we're deploying the marketing, we're gathering information about the property so we can properly evaluate it. And it has much to do more so with the financial condition of the property than the physical condition of the property. It's based off of the cap rates and return on investment, as opposed to what does a similar type of property sell for around the corner.
Yeah.
So that is like one of the bigger challenges, I would say, in the transition from residential to larger assets is just cap rates, figuring them out. There's different cap rates for different markets, different asset classes. It's certainly not rocket science, but it is a big difference than residential. The process that I have for finding these buyers is pretty similar to the process that I had with houses. If I locked up a house in a particular neighborhood in Philly, I would pull like a cash buyers list in that zip code, deploy marketing to cash buyers, post it online, reach out to local agents who represented cash buyers in that zip code. Well, same shit, different toilet.
Yeah.
I'm pulling, instead of, if I'm pulling data to target sellers, say, where they owned it for 10 plus years. Well, if I get an asset like that, well, I'm now pulling data, that they've owned it for only 24 months or less, because that means that they probably purchased a similar asset, in that market. So I'm now deploying marketing to them to see if they're interested in buying this asset, reaching out to local agents or brokers in that market, and then also posting it online in niche specific Facebook or social media groups.
Got it. So when you're so the conversations are pretty similar. Instead of houses, you're going into talking to owners that own the buildings or own the units, and then are you doing it? It starts with text, and then it's like, hey, let's pick up the phone and have a face-to-face or on the phone conversation. Do you ever meet them face-to-face at all, Frank? Do you ever get on a Zoom like this and do that type of meeting? Is it all over the phone?
I've never got on a Zoom. There's a couple times where I've had to, 2 properties that I've gotten equity in. I went, drove to the properties because they were within a few hours of where I was at.
Okay.
And one time I actually, without even having a contract signed, because I was, I was pretty confident I was going to get the deal, and it was a grand slam. I flew to Atlanta to go look at a property, and I ended up not getting the property.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
It was my fault though. I was being cheap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to turn a grand slam into a grand slam and a home run at the same time. So that was my fault for being greedy.
So you heard it there. So Reonomy, finding buyers, very similar to how we're finding buyers in residential, and then all over the phone. So very similar there. And then from an underwriting standpoint, you mentioned something very, very good. It's all about how the property will produce, what rents, who's going to be that end renter or leaser. How are you getting that information, Frank? Is it the same resources that we use in residential? Or is it a little bit different? How are you finding out what a property can produce, rents and all that?
Yeah, so it's similar but different. So if I'm looking at rents in a market, I can go to the MLS or apartments.com or something like that. So same shit, different toilet. You can look at LoopNet and Crexy and some other, online resources where you can look at market rents for a particular asset in a particular market. So that's kind of where you're looking at comps, just say for self-storage, if a 10 by 10 in a particular, market, or if the asset I'm working on has a bunch of 10 by 10 units and they're renting for $50 a month. Well, I'm looking at other facilities in that market that have 10 by 10s and seeing what those are renting for, right? If everything's renting for 80 to 120 and I'm at 50, well, then I can assume that I could at least get it up to $70, $80 a month. And it's similar across any asset type. I can look at apartment units online. I can look at motel rates or hotel rates, or warehouse rates, or any type of asset class. You can look up what's available in a particular market.
I got a question. Are a lot of your buyers, I mean, this is a very unique buyer. So I assume there's unique financing programs. Are a lot of them using financing, or are these straight cash buyers?
They're not necessarily just straight cash buyers, but it's not necessarily traditional financing. They'll use, some, have, private capital. Some have funds. Some use banks or more traditional banking, but they have relationships with them. So it's they don't need to make the offer that they're making contingent on the financing, and they're using the financing and, private capital or cash in conjunction with that to get it closed.
I dig it. So
from my perspective, right, and it's similar to residential, for me, I could care less about what type of financing. It's just my comfort level with them getting to closing. I'm not going to allow someone to make a financing contingency. I wouldn't work with someone probably that is new and getting financing from a lender that they've never had experience closing with before, I need to minimize like my risk.
Okay.
And we'll just throw this in there now. We're a couple minutes into this, but then we'll reiterate this at the end. And we want to talk about the big deal that you got going on right now. But you coach other people. You mentioned you mentor people and whatnot. How do people find you, Frank?
You can find me on Facebook, just Frank McGovern. And I'm also on Instagram. It's Fuck It Frank, but it's
Love that.
It's PHUCKITFRANK. And that's a play on words because it's kind of a brand I created about like mindset and also from Philly, PH. But yeah, Fuck It Frank, PHUCKITFRANK, or Frank McGovern on Facebook.
Very cool, very cool. And tell us about this big whopper you got going on. I heard some numbers while we were in the green room, and wanted you to kind of break this one down. It sounds pretty big, multiple six figures on this big boy.
Yeah, and this is actually with like a mentee of mine. So he locked the deal up. It was a text message lead. It's
wild.
I want to say it's like 60, 70,000 square feet it's mainly retail with some industrial flex space.
Okay.
It's in a nice suburb, like right outside Atlanta, Georgia. We locked it up for 10.8 million and sold it for what, 11.25.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a $450,000 spread.
Any agents involved in that?
No.
No agents?
My mentee got went direct under contract with the seller, and I brought the buyer.
Is the contracts that you're using somewhat similar? Are they simple? Are they like 3 to 4 pages since it's a commercial deal?
No, so I generally use it's like an 8-9 page like a commercial agreement, but it's pretty similar. Like I would say like sometimes like when I was in residential, I would need to use like a PAR agreement, the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
So I would say it's like pretty similar to like something like that, but for commercial property. And there's literally times where I've locked up like bigger assets that were like not super valuable, like under $1 million or right around $1 million, with like the 2-page agreement of sale, like that I would use in residential my entire career.
Got it.
Very good. And I mean, you know what I'm hearing, everybody? Let's just keep it real here for a minute. It works if you work it, right? And what that means is like Frank doesn't have the magic sauce. I mean, there is no such thing as a magic sauce. It's like you just put the work in, man. You generate leads. Yeah, like
I laugh because like something I say to people is this: I went to Philadelphia public schools, so if I can do it, you can do it too.
I love that.
Straight up, bro.
Straight
up. Yeah, I
man.
mean, yeah, it's about putting in the work. Everybody, it's like an athlete, it's like you can go buy yourself the fanciest shoes and the nicest equipment, and that it's not going to make you a player until you get on the court and get the reps in, and that's exactly what you do. I mean, everything, you're just literally gave your entire business. You go to Reonomy, you get the data, you reach out to the people, you get them on the phone, you write the deal, find the buyer. This is not rocket science. It's just a lot of people aren't willing to put the work in. And
to be successful with doing this, it's to me no different than residential. It just comes down to consistent marketing, right? Like if you're consistently, like I say, if you want to ABC, you got to ABM, right? If you want to always be closing, you have to always be marketing. Like I've consistently been closing deals for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
What else have I been doing for the past 15 years? Marketing. Like if I wasn't consistent marketing, like I wouldn't be able to find deals. It's not like you said, it's not rocket science. It's like if you're, consistently marketing, you have to work the leads, follow up, build trust and rapport, make offers. But you do that in residential or commercial, and you don't give up, you will have success.
Focus wins. I got a couple questions for you, kind of nitty gritty stuff. And you don't have to give me super exact, just kind of an estimate, but like a typical sales cycle for a deal in commercial versus you could wholesale something on residential, what, like 15 days or less if you're super solid. But with commercial, it's a little bit longer sales process. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%.
But you just heard here the checks, $450,000 is possible. How long did that deal take from start to finish?
Now I would say that, and this was an $11 million deal, but like this one was, I would say, like on the quicker side.
On the quicker side.
From the time that the marketing was deployed, initial conversation to contract was like less than 30 days.
Wow.
And from the time that we went under contract to the time that we're closing will probably be like less than 45. Both of those things are exceptions and not the rule. I cannot stress that enough. Like I generally say like it will take, a few months to get like a deal, especially your first deal. And, it generally takes a few months to get it closed. You're generally getting like 30 to 60 days of due diligence and then, 30 to 45 days to close. So these definitely are like a longer, timeline. But, whether, two perspectives, it's like one, you can not, continue to do the residential stuff. You start kind of adding this to your tool belt and you get one or two of these closed a year, and that drastically, changes your bottom line. And then also it's like if you're kind of transitioning out of residential into commercial, as long as you're consistently marketing and increasing your marketing budget, once you are getting the deals closed, you can get to a point where you're closing them consistently. But you can make a lot of money doing this and it not be a volume game like at all. Like I close less deals now than I've been in the game since 2010. Like I literally close less deals now than like the first year or two in my career.
Yeah.
And the amount of money is, significantly different. But
you buying and holding anything? You're cashing checks and cracking necks over there. You holding any assets yourself or not yet?
Not yet. Like not that I have purchased. Like I've been negotiating equity in a few deals. So some of like I do have ownership in some large assets that I wholesaled because I negotiated equity. But this year, like the bigger play with all of this was not to just be like wholesaling. I just know what I was good at, which is finding deals, finding capital, not necessarily anything once a deal closes. So I've been building some operational relationships and other relationships that I need. And, my goal is to be more of an acquisition company than a wholesale company. Still get to a point where I'm probably doing 24 to 36 deals a year, but, keeping, half or at least cherry picking, the best one and then wholesaling the rest. But yeah, this is about like, creating like long-term wealth.
Heck yeah.
Holding these as opposed to just flipping them.
I like how you get equity into the actual deal, right? And so can you expound a little bit on that? Like how is it something that you offer, up front, or you kind of talk about that at the end? Like how does that work for you, Frank?
No, so it's definitely something that like I try to, once I'm establishing a new relationship with a buyer, that we kind of set an expectation going into it. Believe it or not, like a lot of the people that are looking for these large assets, their bottleneck is just finding the deals. Because they're not sales and marketing people. Like that's what we are. Like, as wholesalers, you're not a real estate investor, you're a sales and marketing company, and houses or commercial assets are the product. So I say, hey, I'm really good at finding off market deals, and I have a pretty long history of doing so. I'm looking to build long-term relationships with people that see the value that I bring, and I'm looking to get equity as well as a fee on a deal that we close, and both of them will just be dependent upon how good the deal is. I'm not saying that I wouldn't sell you a deal if you don't give me equity, but I'm certainly not presenting you with the opportunity first before other people that would give me equity. And when you present it that way, and again, the equity, like I've gotten 5% equity in like 2 deals and 15% equity in 1 deal. And the 1 deal I got 15% equity. It was like a grand slam. Like that's why I was able to negotiate so much equity. But yeah, somebody giving up like 5% for a really good commercial deal, like it's not really going to negatively impact them too much. And it's like if you can sell the fact that like, hey, I'll be able to bring you repeat business, and then you keep
Yeah.
bringing repeat business, and then you're going to be able to get equity from that particular buyer. And again, I can't stress this enough. They have to be good deals. Like people
Yeah.
ain't giving me equity out of the kindness of their heart. It's because
Yeah.
the deals
Yeah.
are really good.
Tell us about that one where you just recently, the equity deal that you just did. And it came around again recently, right?
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about
I
that.
just made a post today, but it was like 5 ways in essence that I made, profited off of one, wholesale deal, which is initially I closed it, which was like 18 months ago. I made $75,000 fee,
Yeah.
got 5% equity in the asset.
Love
Uh,
it.
I got I got $30,000. I got to pick up the check today, actually, refi proceeds. And then now moving forward, since we refinanced it, I'll get $400 a month, in monthly cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
the depreciation, and then obviously when we sell the asset, like I'll get 5% of the sale proceeds as well.
Wow. That's awesome, man. How much so if you're looking to get into this coming from the residential end and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna try to get into this, what would you recommend as far as like a budget? Like, you got to put money into marketing to drum up the leads, and probably in the beginning you're doing the calls yourself because you got to learn first, right? We talk about that in our community. You got to learn first, or get the framework first, and then you can hire somebody on. What does that look like, Frank?
Yeah,
What are you telling your mentees?
yeah, I recommend having to spend like at least a couple thousand a month. Um,
Couple thousand a month.
yeah, and that's like literally going to get you like a deal or two in like a year.
Mm.
Uh, but if you do that math, like even if got you one deal, like you're generally going to be making $100 to $200,000 or more off of that deal. And the objective is get that first deal closed and then increase that up to like $10,000 a month. But $5,000 to $10,000 a month, so $60,000 to $120,000 a year, can get you 3 or 4 deals a year. That 3 or 4 deals should gross you conservatively, $300,000 to $400,000, and it could gross you $1 million.
That's wild. How did you come up with your specific criteria? You're like, I'm gonna focus here, industrial, effects,
Yeah, so
storage.
oddly enough, when I was transitioning out of residential, I knew people that were in the apartment space, so I started focusing on apartment buildings. So the first like large deal I closed was a smaller apartment building in Ohio, which I made $120,000 on it, and that kind of opened my eyes up to like larger assets. So I started looking into like just other asset classes. So I started looking into like initially self storage, which I kind of like fell in love with, and then from there, like I just started focusing on all industrial. Um,
All industrial.
yeah, anything that's industrial. And then, like I said, the last couple of years, I just know people. Some of the buyers that I have with the industrial, were looking for retail stuff, and I have relationships with apartment buildings, so I started focusing on marketing to them. Because for me, from a wholesaler standpoint, yeah, there's different verbiage among asset classes, different cap rates, different expense ratios, but it's pretty much the same shit, different toilet. So
Yeah.
for me to, you know, for me to kind of do more volume, which I'm looking to accomplish, it's easier to do so if I'm marketing across more than one asset class.
And more than one market, I assume, right? Are you nationwide, or you got your honey holes? You got them picked out where you like to market, or
Yeah, I don't even select geography like when I market. So if it hits like the metrics and the criteria, if it's in Alaska, Hawaii, California, Texas, wherever, like I'm marketing to it. Like I'm
Got
an opportunist above and beyond. Like wherever I can make an opportunity to create like a big spread, like I could care less where it is.
That's awesome. Not
Exactly.
market specific. It's more deal
Exactly.
specific
that's
and
that's
Exactly.
and
that's good.
motivation specific, right?
And it's not even and this is another thing too, like how you say motivation, like the sales is actually significantly easier.
Yeah.
uh, it's not like there's no this isn't a distressed sale. Like I haven't had 10 distressed conversations in the last 4 years, let alone 10 distressed, actual closings. The avatar of the person that we're looking for is just an older person that's looking to cash out and retire. They've owned the asset a really long time. Cost basis is very low, and they owe very little or no money on the asset. And they've mismanaged it to a certain extent by like not maximizing occupancy, not maximizing rents, or not maximizing the build out. What you can build on the site.
And let's keep it real, two things. Number one, when you're dealing with commercial assets, you're dealing with a business person. You're not dealing with like a brokey who's just trying to get some money for some crack. You know what I mean? You're dealing with a business person. They're happy to look at the numbers with you and structure a deal. And they want convenience. Most of these people probably, since they're not in this distressed lifestyle, they got money already. So if you could make it easy for them, they'll talk shop, they'll talk turkey, they'll get, they know they're given a good deal, but they're also getting convenience and they're getting their problems solved. It's just like, move on, right?
Exactly. Like if you can build trust rapport and give them confidence that you will get it to closing, like you don't have to be the highest price.
Wow, yeah. Man.
Frank, what's the biggest deal you've done in doing this since you left the residential world?
In terms of a dollar amount on a transaction was $20 million, and I netted 300,000 on that deal. And then I did a couple of years ago, like I did a 450K spread with a mentee, and then the 450K that we're closing in a couple of weeks.
Now talk about that. So when you mentor with Frank, you're gonna do a deal together basically, right? And then it's 50-50, right? You split it with your student.
Gotcha. Yeah. And they just really have to, I'm in the JV. It's not like they're doing all of the work and then we split 50-50. Like, they have to get the property under contract. I sell the property and then we split the deal 50-50.
Gotcha. So you teach him basically how to fish, kind
of. Yeah, like, and I tell people, like, this is about creating deal flow for me for the next 10 or 20 years. So if you have some hustle and you're willing to market and stick with it, like it's not rocket science, and I can show you how to make a lot of money. And it's not something that you have to stop doing like the residential. It's just pulling a different set of data and just continuing to use like whatever marketing channels you're having success with, continuing to use those channels towards a different set of data.
Okay. Sounds solid, man.
Well,
go ahead, Dave.
Here's the real deal. If you want to learn from someone, right? If you want to make money, and this is what billionaires do, and maybe you're sitting there and you don't necessarily want to be a billionaire or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to learn something and collapse the time it's going to take you to do it, you have to work with somebody who's already doing it. Like, this is the way. What the difference between poor and middle class people versus highly successful high achievers is a high achiever is going to hire a coach. And this is not just me saying this because RJ and I, we coach in, Frank? We coach in buying affordable rentals, affordable housing. That's what we're big on, rental properties. And we do it, and we do it ourselves. You're doing your flips on these industrial properties and large commercial buildings, this and that. If somebody wants to learn it, you got to work with somebody who's already doing it. I'm not talking about somebody who did it back in the day and now we're regurgitating these old stories and reliving this stuff. No, we're doing it right now. And we're all making money together. But you got to put the work in. There's no such thing as the magic pill. You're going to hear it from Frank. You're going to hear it from RJ. You're going to hear it from myself. It's not real. So if you're looking for that Instagram success where it's going to just happen for signing up a program, don't sign up for our program. Don't sign up for Frank's program, because like, if you're not willing to put in the work, it's not helping Frank's business. He wants deal flow for 20 years. We want deal flow for 20 years. We want people who are going to be successful. So that's what I love about you, Frank. We come from the same school, man. It's like, you got to put the work in. If you're not even willing to invest in yourself, what did first lesson you taught us here today? You got to market. I mean, if you're not even willing to spend $1, that means you don't have the faith in yourself, right? I mean, so with that being said,
it's funny to me, and it's like I tell people I don't even like market my course or anything like that. or much like, and people will kind of question it with me showing what I've done, and those same people have spent 20 to 50 to $100,000 to go to college. It's like it blows my mind.
Different mindset, man. They got a different mindset, and that you're a big mindset guy. I know because I watch your content. Every time you come on, it's a lot of it this, and then doing the work. And like the opportunities that are going to come to you, and you need the framework to do that. You need the help with the execution. That's why you hire mentors, right? So I appreciate that, man. This is a big mindset shift. We're just talking about making a couple of different moves, a couple different data sets, but it's all the same thing. You market, you have a conversation, you get it in contract, you negotiate a little bit, like you're negotiating some equity in deals. Very smart, by the way. So it's not transactional. It's very much you got some long play uh, equity in the works. It's great. And then you just got to do it again and again, you know? Um, I appreciate that, man. Look, you guys can connect with Frank. He's on Facebook. He's also on Instagram. His handles are right there. Frank McGovern on on Facebook. Love this at Fuck It Frank. PH stands for Philly. Very no nonsense guy. He's straight shooter, and that's how we are as well. We'll tell it to you straight. Thank you for being here today, Dave. Do you have any other questions?
No, Frank, keep kicking ass. Keep that mindset right. I'll do the same. I know RJ will do the same. We only bring on authentic, real deal players. This is not some bullshit. We got fucking Frank, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. So join us next Wednesday. If you're interested in the affordable housing sector, it's the most stable asset class for rental. That's what me and RJ talk about all day. You know how to reach us. And if you're looking to flip some big deals, work with somebody who's really doing it. Check out Frank McGovern online. Frank, any parting words, sir?
Well, number one, I greatly appreciate you both having me on, fellas. Sincerely appreciate it. And then just to everyone else, business life, it's not rocket science. It's mindset, just doing the work that most others don't want to do and not giving up. It's going to take a lot longer. It will be a lot harder. But as long as you continue to do the work, believe that you can get the desired result you want, and you don't give up, you'll get whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for your time again, guys. If you want to hear the story and you're seeing this a little bit too late, we go on at 11:11 every Wednesday. Definitely put this on rewind. Go back and listen to the story of how him and his mentee made $450,000 off one deal in a crazy amount of time, in 45 days. Guys, it's possible. I truly appreciate your time today, Frank. You can connect with Frank again on Facebook and Instagram. This is his handles. Send him a DM. Ask about his coaching. It's been a wonderful time again today on Cream, Cash Flow, Real Estate, and Money. Appreciate your time, Frank.
All right,
Hang
fellas,
out. Hang out just a sec, okay? We'll see
Okay,
everybody on the next live stream. Talk to you soon.